I appreciate your guys' willingness to pray through this, because this isn't just, I'm not just talking about a program for a church. What we're talking about is your relationship with Jesus and how he leads us not only to live out his life and the qualities of love and peace and kindness. Part of following Jesus is becoming like him in his mission, which is helping others follow Jesus and helping them help others. That's disciple making. And so that was a call that he gave to all of us that we need to prayerfully step into and find ways to move forward. Now, as we think about that, you might be feeling like, oh man, I don't even know where to begin. Or maybe you're like me, and it wasn't until I was years into ministry and someone asked me, who would self-identify as your disciple? That's a specific question. And it made me think, it's like, okay, I'm a youth pastor, I have a lot of kids. But he's like, no, not who comes to a group meeting. Who would say, I'm being discipled by you? That's my question for us. Who would self-identify as your disciple? That's why this book is so important to me. It's something we put together as a church. I've got some copies here. It's free for you. And what it does is it talks about the motivation, purpose, and calling in life. So come up, grab a copy before you leave. It's also on Amazon. You can get it for your phone. It is cheap. It's like $1 something. We're not trying to sell tons of copies. We're just trying to make it available for those that want to be part of this disciple making movement at our church. Because that's what I believe. I feel like as you guys, not feel, I believe as you guys go out, that you're starting a movement through the relationships where you live, work, learn, and play. Now, a book can only do so much. I'd encourage you to find someone to read it through, talk about it. Or if you're interested, right now, Gonzo and I, every other week, we're talking about this in his life for an hour. I ask a bunch of questions, he answers, we have a good time. Just kind of walking through these things so that you have an idea of what is a disciple? You know, what does it look like to step out with people, counting the cost? And it walks through the stages of growth. So this is available for you. Let me know if you'd like to talk more about that. You're not alone. And so we're in this together. Now, what is the good work we are to do in the church? So Ephesians is talking about the good work. What is the good work we're to do in the church so that we grow to become like Jesus in his life and mission? I believe Ephesians is the blueprint, or a good blueprint, for a multi-ethnic church. If you read through it, it's talking about how to bring diverse people together. It's the gospel that creates a diverse multi-ethnic church, a taste of heaven. That's why that prayer that says God can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine is actually in response to bringing in a diverse church together, because it's a miracle. It's a miracle that Anthem Church exists. It's a miracle that Nations Church exists. And so we need to praise God for what he's doing. Now, as Paul is teaching us, it comes to Ephesians 4, which moves from the identity to the purpose of the church. Now, if you'd like a good message on part 1 of Ephesians, the identity of the church, watch Gonzo's sermon last Sunday. He walked beautifully through Ephesians 2. So Ephesians 4 gives us the action plan. Some call it, if you think of the church as a body, it's like a bodybuilding workout plan. That might really speak to someone that was Mr. Saipan. Right? Come on. We got a bodybuilder in the house here. You don't have red cheeks like me, but I think you're blushing. But chapter 4 gives us this plan, which begins as we each do our part as a people who are blessed with God's resources or spiritual gifts. So it says, but to each of you grace has been given to you as Christ apportioned it. So we're each receiving grace to serve. It's God's resources. He's doing it. He has the authority to know what each of us needs. So what that is helpful for is it's not about comparing each other. Well, he can do this, she can do that, I can't do that. No. Christ gave you a unique gift, personality, shape to ministry that you need to live it out. And we need you. We each need each other. And so we all contribute and help grow into Jesus together. Now, for some, as it continues from Ephesians 4:7, as it gets to 4:11 to 12, now it says that for some, Jesus also gifted the church leaders to equip the church. So when it says apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, little p, little a, so apostles like starting missional activities, prophets things like preachers, preaching change, evangelists, sharing the gospel, pastors, teachers. These are people. So in Corinthians and Romans and Peter that talks about spiritual gifts as grace, that's talking about like skills or spiritual supernatural abilities. This is talking about people. Christ himself gives people who function in these ways. And what are they doing? They are mending nets. Equip means mending nets. It's making broken things whole. Who's broken? The church. So as we're using our gifts, serving, we have leaders who bring wholeness to the church. Wholeness, what does that look like? To be fully like Jesus in both his life and mission. So we need someone to kind of guide us to become fully who Jesus is, because we're broken. And we need leaders to help us become more fully like Jesus, influencing us to grow through these 5 functions: prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher, apostle. So on page 75, if you look at that, it gets into this. And so this is the good work that we're to do in the church. Okay? This is the good work that we're to do. These leaders are influencing us to do these things so that we grow to become fully like Jesus in both his life and mission. And so these aren't things that leaders just do, right? It's not that we're just kind of watching them. No, they're helping us serve through these functions. So what are these functions? Well, the church needs shepherds to nurture and protect the spiritual maturity of the church. So I think of someone just kind of providing care. This could be inviting someone in your group to share a meal together. This could be the function of texting someone about their prayer needs, lingering after church, starting a conversation. Because again, this isn't for the leader to do. This is something they're influencing us to do, right? We're to understand and explain God's truth for the church to remain faithful. Sharing what you learned from the sermon, from a Bible study, reading the Bible, texting someone what you learned. So again, the leaders that are teachers are helping us function in this way. Teaching kids, evangelistic gifting, sharing the gospel, communicating the gospel message, and engaging with non-Christians. So asking a friend, do you see yourself on a spiritual journey? Maybe post on social media about how you're grateful for something God's doing, sharing what you're learning about God with your coworker, going to a place where people hang out, just starting conversations. Prophetic, this is communicating truth. I use this like bread imagery, like creating something different, challenging the norm. So challenging how God's truth applies for today's culture. Lead a book discussion from a Christian author who has a challenging message like apologetics or something like that. Sharing advice with a neighbor, praying and sharing encouragement to someone that God puts on your heart that prompts you to call change into their life. Apostolic, this is starting a missional activity, extending the gospel into new places and people groups. So where evangelism is sharing a message, this is starting a ministry or starting some kind of outreach. So that could be as simple as stopping by a neighbor's home, starting a conversation to make your neighborhood an outreach. Could go on a prayer walk, start a conversation with someone. Mentoring kids in a low-income neighborhood, pursuing adoption, teaching English. We do ESL at Bellevue College because of this. So it's starting missional activity. So as we think about these different functions, think about where you're best equipped to function. Think about the needs of the church. Because as I'm thinking about this, man, this is what we need. We need shepherding, teaching to develop the community of believers in the church. We need evangelism, missional activities to reach out, right? It's both. And so I have a hard time when people are like, oh, you're a missionary church. It's like, aren't all churches to be like, I don't understand. Or like, man, you guys are all about the Bible. It's like, right. It's like, I don't understand. Like, why is there these distinctions? Um, so I think we need to think through this lens. These are the activities that lead us to the good work. And something that I appreciated from a brother I was talking to last week that I wish could be here. It's not so that we as members watch as fans. It's not like the pastors do all the work or church leaders do all the work. But we as members follow their example and learn how to use our gifting, passion, personality, all of it to participate and contribute in these 5 ways so that we're extending the gospel outside the church, developing spiritual maturity inside the church. We need all of these because the church family forms into a healthy community through gifted leaders who equip us to become like Jesus by doing these 5 activities. So look at page 75. What can I do? So what can we do? Read how God shapes our church to function as a healthy body by people who help in these 5 activities. Second thing, answer these questions at the bottom. Consider how you're shaped for ministry. Maybe there's one of these that you feel led to function in. Maybe there's multiple. I'm not an evangelist. It's actually interesting when you think about in the story with Stephen, who was a deacon, a servant. He later identified as an evangelist. I find that fascinating that he developed in his ministry. And I wonder how he felt about moving from someone who waits on tables, that's a deacon serving, to someone that's now going out sharing the gospel. And so these aren't so rigid, is my point. And we can flow through them. So we all need to play our part in the growth and maturity of our church by ensuring we, as a church, prioritize each of these 5 functions. Let's just